"Is this a joke?" asked a young man in a fancy black suit. He sounded mad. He was looking at an old man sitting in a special chair. He had papers in his hand. His hands were shaking. The old man's name was George Wilson. He was 82 years old. He sat very still. He didn't say anything. His hands were on his walking stick. He was looking at the empty stage. The big room smelled like cleaner and perfume. More and more people were coming in. "Excuse me, sir. I'm talking to you," the young man said louder. He snapped his fingers. The sound was loud. "Do you know where you're sitting?" George slowly turned his head. His neck was stiff. It got hurt long ago when he was a soldier. He looked up at the man. The man's name was Kevin Davis. George's face had many wrinkles. Kevin's face was smooth and red. "I'm sitting where they told me to sit," George said. His voice was rough and quiet. Kevin laughed in a mean way. He looked at his helper, a nervous young woman named Sarah. "Did you hear that, Sarah? He was told to sit here." Kevin got close to George's face. "Sir, this seat is for the main speaker. This is the front row. This is for important people. Look at yourself." Kevin pointed at what George was wearing. This made Kevin very mad. George was not wearing a fancy suit. He was wearing an old red jacket. The jacket was torn at the bottom. The zipper was old. It looked like something you wear to walk your dog in the rain. "I know what I'm wearing, son," George said quietly. "It's rude," Kevin said. "This is a fancy party. Important people are coming in 10 minutes. Army leaders are coming. People from other countries are coming. And you're sitting here looking like you came from the bus stop. You need to move now." George moved a little. The chair made a sound. He fixed his jacket collar. There was a small patch on the left side. It had old gold and black thread. Most people didn't know what it was. "I'm not moving," George said. He looked back at the stage. Kevin couldn't believe it. He stood up straight. His face got pink. The big room was filling up. Men in nice uniforms and women in pretty dresses were coming in. They were laughing and talking. Some people behind them were whispering and pointing at the old man in the red jacket. Kevin felt like everyone was watching. This was his party. He needed it to be perfect. And there sat George Wilson, like a stain on a clean white shirt. "Sir, I'm not asking you," Kevin said. "I'm telling you, you're not supposed to be here. If you have a ticket, it's for the seats up high. If you don't move in 30 seconds, I'll call security. They will drag you out. I'll make you look silly." George closed his eyes for a second. He didn't see the angry man. He saw gunfire in dark jungle trees. He felt hot, wet air. He felt the weight of a young soldier on his shoulder. His jacket was covered in mud. He remembered his promise from long ago. That promise brought him here today. "I understand you have a job," George said. "But I do too." "Job?" Kevin laughed. "You're just confused. Sarah, go get security. Get the big guys. Tell them we have a problem." Sarah looked at George. The old man was so still it scared her. Most people get small when someone yells at them. They move around. They look down. George Wilson sat like a mountain. He looked strong and sure. "Go," Kevin said to her. Sarah ran fast. Her high heels made clicking sounds. Kevin stood over George. George didn't look like he wanted to run. "You're making a mistake," George said quietly. "The only mistake was letting you in," Kevin said. He looked at his watch. Important people would be here in 5 minutes. If the general walked in and saw this mess, Kevin would be in big trouble. "Look at this," Kevin said. He touched George's jacket collar with his finger. "It's gross. Don't you care about the men and women we're saying thank you to tonight? This party is for heroes. It's for brave people. It's not for homeless people." George's hand moved fast, very fast for an old man. He didn't hit Kevin. He just caught Kevin's hand. He grabbed Kevin's wrist very tight. "Don't touch the jacket," George whispered. His voice was cold. His blue eyes got hard like ice. Kevin tried to pull his hand back, but he couldn't move. The old man was stronger than him. "Let go of me," Kevin said. His voice went high. George held him for one more second, then let go. Kevin fell back. His eyes were big. "He hurt me," Kevin cried out. "He just hurt me." People nearby turned to look. They started talking louder. A rich woman in the second row said to her husband, "Why hasn't someone kicked him out?" George fixed his sleeves. He didn't look back. He sat forward a little and waited. Up high in the control room, A young soldier named Danny was watching the security cameras. He saw Kevin yelling at the old man. He saw Kevin touch the collar. He saw George grab the wrist. Danny zoomed the camera in. He looked at the old man's chest. He was looking for an ID badge. Instead, his eyes saw the old patch on the red jacket. Danny's face went white. He knew that patch. He had seen it in history books. He had seen it in secret files. It was from a special rescue team that went to very dangerous places. He typed fast on his computer. It took 3 seconds to find out who the old man was. Name: Wilson George. Rank: Sergeant Major, retired. Status: top secret living legend. Notes: said no to Medal of Honor. Got other highest medals many times. Danny felt cold sweat on his face. He grabbed his radio. "Command, this is Overwatch," Danny said. His voice was shaking. "Go ahead, Overwatch," a voice said back. "Sir, we have a big problem. Front row, center seat. Is there danger?" "No, sir, but the event staff is trying to force a guest to leave." "Danny, we're 2 minutes away. Handle it." "Sir, you don't understand," Danny said. He was watching the screen. 2 big security guards were walking toward George. "The guest is George Wilson. He's wearing the red jacket." Silence on the radio. Total quiet. It lasted for 5 seconds. "Say that again, Overwatch." The voice came back lower. Dangerous. "George Wilson is in there. The event manager is bothering him. Security is about to grab him." The answer was fast. "Stop them." "Sir, I'm in the booth. I can't stop them." "Danny, that's an order. The general is listening. We're coming." Croston on the floor. Kevin felt brave because 2 big security guards were there now. "There he is," Kevin pointed at George. "He hurt me. He's not supposed to be here. Get him out. Drag him if you have to." The security guards were very big. One of them had no hair and a neck like a tree. "Sir, you need to come with us," the guard said in a deep voice. George looked up. He was tired. His hip hurt. He just wanted to watch the ceremony. "I'm staying," George said. The guard grabbed George's arm. The red jacket bunched up under his big hand. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way, old man," the guard said. Right then, the side doors didn't just open. They were thrown open very hard. Bang! The sound was like a gunshot. The whole room went quiet. Kevin turned around. He thought he would see the senator. Instead, soldiers in uniform marched in. They weren't wearing fancy uniforms. They were wearing real combat gear. They had caps and guns on their belts. They looked serious. They moved fast. In the middle walked General Marcus Collins. He had 4 stars on his shoulder. He was very tall. People called him the Hammer because he was so tough. His face looked angry like a storm cloud. They didn't go to the stage. They walked straight toward row A. Kevin froze. Maybe they were here to arrest the old man. Yes, that must be it. "General," Kevin called out. He felt better. "Thank God you're here. We have a problem. This man won't—" General Collins didn't look at Kevin. He walked right past him. Kevin had to jump backward. Kevin tripped and fell hard on the floor. The security guard holding George's arm saw the general coming. His eyes got really big. He let go of George fast. General Collins stopped 3 feet from George. The soldiers stood around them. They were protecting George and the general. The room was completely quiet. You could hear the air conditioning. General Collins looked down at George. He looked at the torn jacket. He looked at the old zipper. He looked at the patch. Then slowly, the general dropped down on one knee. Everyone gasped. A 4-star general was kneeling on the floor in front of an old man. "Sergeant Major," General Collins said. His voice was full of feelings. George looked at the general. A small smile came on his face. "You're late, Marcus." "I got stuck in traffic," Collins said. His voice was shaking. He touched the red jacket gently. "I didn't think you'd come. You haven't left your cabin in 10 years. "I heard you were getting your 4th star," George said. "I thought someone had to come make sure your head didn't get too big." Collins laughed. It was a wet, choking sound. He stood up and put out his hand. George took it. Collins pulled him up. Then General Collins turned to the room. He didn't let go of George's hand. Kevin was getting up. He was brushing off his suit. "General, I'm sorry. This man was—" Be quiet! Colin's voice was like a cannon. It bounced off the walls. Kevin shut his mouth. Collins looked at the security guards. He looked at Kevin. He looked at the rich people who had been whispering. You wanted to remove this man? Collins asked. His voice was quiet but dangerous. You thought he didn't belong? Kevin tried to talk. Sir, it's a fancy party. He's wearing a windbreaker. Collins looked at the red jacket. Then he looked at Kevin with sadness. This is not a windbreaker, Collins said loudly. This is the flight jacket from the 77th Air Rescue Team, called the Red Devils. Collins pointed to the old patch. You don't see these anymore. Almost every man who wore one died wearing it. They flew into fire so hot it would melt paint off a tank. Collins put a hand on George's shoulder. In 1972, a helicopter was shot down in Vietnam. The pilot was 19 years old. He was trapped in the burning helicopter. Bad guys were coming from all sides. Command said, don't go. Too dangerous. The crowd was listening hard. Kevin was very pale. But one man didn't listen, Collins said. One man went down, ran into the fire, and pulled that pilot out. He carried him 3 miles through the jungle on a broken ankle. Bad guys were hunting them. He kept that pilot alive for 2 days. Collins stopped and looked at George. That pilot was my father. Everyone was shocked. People covered their mouths, eyes filled with tears. Kevin looked like he wanted to disappear. And this jacket, Collins touched the red cloth again. This is the jacket he wrapped my father in to keep him warm. This jacket has my father's blood inside. It has mud from that valley in it. Collins turned back to Kevin. His eyes were angry. You told him he wasn't dressed right. Son, this man is wearing the most special piece of clothing in this room. Your suit cost $2,000. This jacket cost him his youth. It cost him his health. It cost him his friends. Collins looked at the crowd. You asked if he had a ticket? Collins yelled. He paid for his seat with his blood. The general stepped back. He stood at attention. He raised his hand in a slow, sharp salute. Sergeant Major Wilson, Collins called out. George stood up straight. The years fell off him. The bend in his back went away. He dropped his walking stick. He didn't need it. He stood tall. He saluted back. His hand cut through the air perfectly. 50 years hadn't made him forget how. The two men stood there in a silent moment that was bigger than the room. Then slowly people started clapping. It started with the soldiers. Then the senator stood up. Then the mayor. Then everyone in the room stood up. The clapping grew into a roar. It was so loud it shook the lights. Kevin didn't clap. He stood frozen, wishing he could disappear. General Collins lowered his salute. He turned to his helper. Captain! Yes, General? Take Mr. Davis out of the building. But the ceremony, Kevin whispered. The ceremony is about honor, Collins said coldly. You know nothing about it. Leave. Kevin was led away by 2 soldiers. He walked past George but couldn't look at him. George watched him go, then looked at Collins. You didn't have to do that, Marcus. The boy just didn't know. He knows now, Collins said. The general pointed to the empty seat next to George. Is this seat taken? Collins asked. George smiled. It is now. Collins sat down next to George. He didn't go to the stage. He sat in the front row, right next to the old man in the red jacket. The ceremony started. Speeches were made. Awards were given out. But no one was really looking at the stage. Their eyes kept going to the front row. A 4-star general was listening to an old man whisper stories. The red jacket stood out like a bright flame. Later that night, after everything was done, George and Collins stood outside. The night air was cool. Can I give you a ride, George? Collins asked. George shook his head. No, thank you, sir. I've got my truck around the corner. She still runs. Collins smiled. You know, you could have worn the medals. I know, George said. He patted his jacket. But I like this better. It keeps me warm. And it reminds me of the boys who didn't get to come home and get old like me. Collins nodded. He was fighting back tears. George turned to leave. He was leaning on his walking stick again. He took a few steps, then stopped. Marcus? Yes, George? You did good tonight. Your father would be proud. Collins watched him go. He watched the red jacket fade into the shadows. He stood there for a long time, long after the old man was gone. The next day, a note went out from the Department of Defense. It was short and simple. All event staff for military parties had to take a new training class. The class was called History, Heritage, and Respect. The cover of the training book had a picture. It was a picture of an old red patch with faded gold thread. Under it was one sentence: "Stand up, he earned it." The story of George Wilson and the red jacket spread fast. Young soldiers shared it. Officers told it in training. It became a lesson. Don't judge a book by its cover. George went back to his quiet cabin in the mountains. He didn't want fame. He didn't want attention. He just wanted to remember his friends and live in peace. But every year on the day of that rescue, a package would arrive at his door. Inside would be a new red jacket, just like the old one, sent by General Collins. And every year, George would put it in his closet and keep, wearing the original. Because some things are too special to replace. Some things carry memories that can't be moved. And some jackets are worth more than all the medals in the world. If you like this story, please like and share this video. Subscribe to our channel for more stories of heroes. Help us keep their memories alive.